I've invited three people tonight, Jonathan, Shaina, and Brian. And these folks have all been through the Life Path Mentorship Program. And I just wanted to take just a couple minutes before we get into some of the things for goal setting in 2024, mostly to honor all of your time, because you're doing everybody gracious favor to come and show up and talk about your experience. So I thought, well, I don't want to make you wait till the very end. So why don't I have you talk right out of the gate about some of your experiences? So let me pick on Shaina first. Hi, Shaina. So Shaina, we're just kind of give us a little snapshot of your life. What's your type preferences? Where are you from? What's going on in your life?
So I'm Shaina, INTJ. I live in Loudoun County, Virginia. So I did start Life Path like last February. So it was a February to April class.
Yeah.
I did a webinar just like this, and I pulled the trigger and decided to do it because I was a bit stuck in my life. I was explaining this to someone else, but basically I was going through life transitions and I needed a bit of guidance. What I said is I reached the limit of my self-study. I was trying to do all these things for self-growth and try to figure out the path that I was supposed to take. And something like life path like really pinged with me, like, oh, a life path. Uh, but this really exceeded my expectations because I didn't even realize. First of all, I thought I was an INTP and learning what that meant and then getting my best fit type as INTJ, it was completely game changing because now I understand after PLP and now also taking Profiler Training 101. I'm definitely not an INTP and I know exactly how I'm not.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful. Like just thinking you're like an introvert, a thinker, an intuitive is just so it can be vague until you're actually put in the shoes of, okay, well, how do you think UTI? How do you think UTE? So once I started getting to TI and I was like, I don't think I'm doing this. So a big part of that is just thinking I am a thinker and then realizing that maybe because of where the position of the functions, I know you're going to get into this later, that I might not necessarily be fully using my thinking function. That
Yeah.
was like, what do you mean? I'm a thinker. Of course, I'm thinking. But the idea of the loop and the co-pilot, that was all game changing for me. And what I was kind of thinking of it now, because like here's my map. I'll show the webinar what I made. See how pretty it is? This is my New Year's resolution. I didn't bother making one because I'm just gonna keep running this. So it's like I don't exaggerate when I say it's life changing. And if you want to be practical about it, it's if you've decided to go on a journey, the journey of self growth, of course, you're going to have stops along the way. Well, I was just kind of just doing it. I'm just stopping in
Mm.
this village here. I'm stopping talking to this random NPC here. And then I did personality life path, and y'all gave me a map. That changes your life. So you're not just wandering in whatever direction. I'm not good with directions, by the way. I don't know which way is north or south. I don't know that naturally. So to me, that's life changing because I can be more productive. I can actually identify like what my triggers are, like really getting to know my ego. And I kind of spent the entire summer just integrating everything and just getting to know myself again, but not in
Yeah.
this like totally new person way, but like in like this nice maturing. Oh, that's just your 10-year-old FI. That's yeah, you want to eat that cake, but you might just be in a crib. Or
Yeah.
hey, let's just do something simple like, make a budget.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
expressing that in your experience. I'll probably come back and ask you. I have a question that emerged as you were talking that's particular to INTJs. So I'm going to come back to you in just a moment, but I want to go over to Brian for a second. Brian, hi. Give us your snapshot. What's your life like? Welcome.
I'm Brian, and I'm an ENFJ. I'm the associate pastor at a church in sunny downtown San Francisco, and I'm starting my 26th year there.
Wow.
And one of my jobs is I give the test to couples about to be married. I do a lot of premarital counseling, and I've done it for over 20 years. Given the test, understand it. I was taught how to give it in grad school for my counseling degree. And I needed some more practical, fun way to explain it. So it's not here, you take a test, I explain it. So I wanted a fun way. So I started looking on the internet and I found you guys. And then I saw you had the life path coaching. I'm like, that's going to be amazing. It's immersive. You live all 8 of those functions over the course of 8 weeks. And you get to really understand people's point of view. You know how they always say, don't judge someone unless you've walked in their shoes. You walk in their shoes for the 8 weeks. And it was amazing. Then we had our live event in Atlanta this past fall. And that was just amazing. I came looking for information to help the people I counsel, but I got counseled, and I got on a hot seat. And Antonia roasted me in a good way and said, "You need to change this and this." And it was amazing. It was amazing. That was an amazing weekend, an amazing group. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Do not hesitate to get involved. They are excellent coaches, and they shepherd you along and help you see things and find your blind spots. It was an amazing experience. And then now I take that. We just had 2 weddings at church in December, 2 younger couples. I took them through my regular premarital counseling. And then we hit this session where we covered the personality types and the functions, and they're amazed at the depth of understanding. They can understand who they're going to marry and what they're getting into. So it has just transformed that part of my ministry in an amazing way. And just personally, I have learned so much from the life path. Don't hesitate to take it. Don't hesitate to just jump in. And I think Antonio or Joel said, just personality first, just jump in and just open wide open and receive what they're going to teach you. And it will do amazing things in your life.
That's great. I might circle back and ask you a little bit about maybe some practicality around awakening your intuition in a moment. If you have anything to say, if it's too vulnerable, I'll push you on it, but I want to give the opportunity if that's possible. Before I do that though, I want to jump over to thank you, by the way, Brian, so much. I'm just moving for time's sake. I'm not trying to be rude. I also make sure I honor everybody's time. Jonathan, thank you for being here as well. Update us. What's your station in your life? Just give us a quick snapshot and start there.
So good to see you. I'm Jonathan, ENFJ. I'm a registered nurse, and I've worked 15 years in geriatric and hospice care. And I get the wonderful privilege of watching people go through the life path. And what I have noticed as a pattern, it kind of reminds me of that ancient Greek mythology of Theseus walking through the labyrinth. And I imagine like going through the life path, it's like you're wandering through this labyrinth. It's dark. You're not really sure, kind of like what Shaina said, you're not really which way is north, left, right. You just know you're wandering. And a lot of the challenges I've noticed is somewhere around career, relationship to others, and relationship to self-identity. Who am I? And it's very clear that when someone goes through the life path, myself included, it's like you give us a map. And finally, we're able to determine, okay, I haven't solved all my life's problems and challenges, but at least I know how to navigate the understanding of myself. And it's not just really just understanding yourself, but you're getting to listen to other people talk. And that's the most beautiful thing about it, is that you're not going through this alone, you're going through it together with others. And there's something about being in the presence of other people who are focused on growing themselves and maturing and going into the most self, the most version of themselves. That is transformative, just being in the presence of that experience. So thank you for putting this on again. I'm very glad you're continuing to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's Antonia and I say, it's easy to say that students or alumni or anyone going through it, their life gets changed, but every single iteration, my life gets changed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit of selfish reasons in some of this. I mean, all the motivations are there. And one of them is, man, it is a benefit to us to run this into what we learned too. Thank you for expressing that. I think you all have heard me say this because you were in Personality Life Path, and anyone that's been on the call right now that's heard me say this in one of our other programs, we have this phrase here, Personality, that true learning equals behavior change. And when you really learn something or you make it real for your life, your behaviors, your life is going to be different. You're going to do different things in your life. You're going to have different outcomes. Your behavior is going to change and your outcomes are going to change. So if you are able to get really specific, I can start with Shaina and go back down through, and maybe we could end with this to get on to the next portion. But is there anything tangible or specific you could point to? Maybe it's a problem, like a specific challenge or problem that you overcame or worked through, or maybe a reframe you had or enlightenment, or you saw something, or a clarity, whatever that could be. Try to bring it from abstract as concrete as possible, as tangible as possible, because I know that speaks to me when I'm looking at something like this. I always want to know, okay, it's great to talk all the talk, but what actions is this? What rubber hits the road? So let's hit over to you, Shaina, first.
So I think the biggest thing is, so I thought I was a perceiver, and what I was is just a struggling judger. So kind of awakening that part of me, I became way more organized. So like this entire time since I finished has been like rearranging my life, like going through every little line item, uh, getting on a budget, recognizing impulse behaviors. So I feel much more stable in that arena. Like I feel much more ready for life transitions. Whereas before it's like, oh my God, I have to move. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? You know? And another thing is I think I was really getting caught up in my loop of just like, oh, starting new projects. Like, I'm going to do this. And like I said, I have a business and I'm trying to do three things at once. And a lot of your advice was try to close the loops, stop starting new things if you can't finish it. And also like examining, like, why do you want to do that thing? Why do you think this is the best way? And finding that like my reasons for it were not as good. So I have like really streamlined things. I finished things like I had a novel I started like 4 years ago. It's finally done. I hope to
Oh,
publish it
congrats.
this
Good for
year.
you.
Yeah, just putting the finishing touches. The business, I'm putting less like pressure on myself. I'm kind of like really just trying to find what's really going to work for me. And overall, just life is much more calm. I find myself not having as much trouble with dealing with other people, which is a thing for me as an INTJ. I was like,
Yeah.
why does everyone annoy me? Because yes, sorry, no offense, people. But also I'm getting along with my friends much more. Personality hacker turned me into a person who wants to hug their friends. I was
Wow.
not that person before. I'm telling you, like 100%, I wasn't that. And I'm
But
seeing
don't tell
friends.
the other INTs that we turn you into a hugger.
Yeah, don't,
I
We're
cried
trying to
in front of people.
don't run. Fair enough, though. I have a question about that being an ITJ, if you don't mind. This is the final piece here. Vulnerability can be a hard thing for a lot of introverts in general, but especially people like INTJs or people. There's all sorts of types that have vulnerability issues, but INTJs are one of the types that typically is a challenge for it. Here you're in a group of 20, 25 people. Or like we hit about, okay, give us your deepest fears and challenges, and let's work through these around stuff that you're already insecure about. How was that for you? Was that a challenge? Was it safe? How did you feel?
So I think at first it was a challenge, but pretty soon I felt safe. Like we're really in a good, safe environment. Even if we had somebody who might be like maybe not as sensitive, like I trust that you two would. I mean, honestly, you would probably turn around and make them cry if they were being insensitive because it would
Yeah.
be something in them, right? So no, I just felt completely safe. Like for the first time in my life, actually feeling like, okay, I'm in a good position. I'm with people who actually care about my feelings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Well, I was just going to ask because there's the 8-week virtual aspect and then there's the live event. And did the 8 weeks that led up to the live event help with that?
Yes, because I really got to know what you guys are about. It was very structured, and which helps me feel safe. Now I know that you have a structure. I could see how you curated like group talking and things like that. So I could see and how you held space for other people that were struggling with things. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I can open up here.
Cool. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we bounce over to Brian, just for time's sake?
No, just like if you're really thinking about it, like this might be the next step, just do it. Yeah. It really like accelerated my growth.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Shaina, for being
Shaina.
here tonight and all that. Okay, Brian, how about you? Anything concrete, anything tangible?
I came away with such happiness and joy and calmness. It was just an amazing experience. The three big things that I took away from it was you're always telling people to grow your co-pilot. Well, my co-pilot is introverted intuition. And I didn't realize I've been using it my whole life. I didn't know that's what that was. Basically, I'm thinking about decisions or problems I need to solve, and I have them in my mind before I go to bed. That I wake up in the morning and I hop in the shower and boom, the answer hits me. I slept on it. That's introverted intuition. It needs everything else quiet and it does its thing and figures things out when I have decisions or problems. So that was a tremendous blessing to learn. That's what that was. And also, I've got my ring, my pinky ring. I one of the things that I've never really used is the introverted thinking, which is my 3-year-old, the weakest of my strengths in the car model. And I learned to use that. Antonia taught me that, and it was amazing. And to remember it, I have a ring with radical truth or ennobling truths engraved on it to remind me that's what helps me not get in an emotional funk. If I use that introverted intuition and just stand back and ask, where's that code coming from? Like Antonia taught me, boom, it solves a lot. It solves so many problems I don't get emotionally wound up about. And it prevents a lot of gut-wrenching things that I used to wrench my guts about. So I am so thankful for that. I always have my little reminder ring on, and just those two things. And then also extroverted sensing, I learned to put more helpful routines, because pastors, we tend to give and give and give, and don't allow for gym time, don't allow for doctor visits, don't allow these things, because we're constantly serving others and putting them first. I learned, no, I have to have these helpful habits in my life. And you both taught me that. So everything that I learned, instant application. That's what I love about your coaching. There's a clear application to your real life on what you're teaching, and I have loved every minute of the classes.
Thank you.
I didn't know about that ring. That's really cool. So you have a little
I said-
introverted thinking.
The pinky. Well,
Yeah,
the thing I told my mom, Mama, I went to a workshop and we've got 4 strengths, and this is the worst one. There's my introverted thinking. It's the littlest one. And that reminds me, don't get separated from that. Use it. You have it, use it. And that was amazing. So I always have it with me.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear it, Brian.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing that.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, I'll also tune. Oh, yeah.
Do you want to ask Brian if there's any last words?
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
You've already said fabulous things, Brian, but
don't hesitate to do it. I think the third time you offered, I was thinking about doing it, but I was so busy serving and doing, I skipped it. Then the next time it came around, I'm taking that class. It just pushed me right over the fence, and it's amazing. It's application based. You get all the teaching during the 8 weeks, and then you live it. Then they bring it together in the live event. That's an amazing event. Everybody is very supportive, very kind, gracious to one another. We help each other. We're all still friends, and go and message each other and hang out with each other and catch up with each other. So don't hesitate to do it. It's so much more than what you think it is.
Yeah. Okay.
thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Jonathan, I'll kick it over to you. I know you're in a little bit of a different role because you started off in just the class, but you ended up being a facilitator. You also work here with our Quest program, other things. So you have a very unique perspective, I think, from where you're coming from.
Yeah, kind of like what I said before, I think there comes a point in everyone's life where we do feel a little bit lost. And I always recall that first time when I was working as a hospice nurse, driving down the road, and I was going through a pretty dark time in my life with relationships. And I remember hearing your voice, and it really was like on the podcast. And I remember thinking, it's like I heard a voice in the dark, finally some life on the planet. And going into the personality life path, again, it's like that torch was lit, and all of a sudden things became clear. I began to see myself for who I am and be honest about how I work. And so I think if you're kind of like feeling lost in like career, relationships, or even your relationship to yourself, this might be the program for you. Because, and I would say too, if you have an intuition leaning towards it, your intuition is already leaning towards taking this program. Go ahead and follow that intuition and lean further into it, and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah. All right. I was going to ask you for more, but I think that you kind of sums it up there.
Yeah.
I thank you, all three of you, for
Yes.
giving your time, energy, attention, and willingness tonight. I mean, you didn't have to do this, and I really, myself and Antonia are gracious to all three of you for coming on to share. It also has centered me talking to you. Like you're reminding me of like when we first started this out, I'm like, okay, everybody, and I'm trying to welcome people, and I'm a little frenetic because we're trying to get the internet connected. And having you all speak reminds me, oh yeah, this is the real of it all. Like, calm down, Joel. It's going to be fine. There's actual impact being made. You don't need to worry and panic and try to, broadcast all the value here. Just be present to it, because I think it can speak for itself. So thank you all for having that presence and bringing me to a grounded space. I appreciate that. Can't wait to have you be part of this Life Path program. If this is a fit for you, I think now's the time to do it. Myself and Antonia, we put our entire essence into this program. We really love it. It changes us. We show up. We give our 110% on these calls and at this live event. We want to show up for you in your real life, on the ground of your life, where you're at right now. Meet you there, help you start to move toward the things that you want, the outcomes you want. Maybe it's not just about goals. Sometimes we want to optimize the self. That's okay too. It's not just about getting the outcomes, also becoming something different. that can be a good measurement tool or a good reason to join this. Thanks so much for being here and being part of this. Talk soon. Peace.